Well, guys, another week down, and pretty uneventful week, gotta be honest. But I am gonna talk today and showcase you through something that I've been working on for myself for a little while. So I mentioned in, I think, my last video or 2 videos ago, I can't even remember at this point, that my wife got me a ice plunge for my birthday. And it's literally just this vinyl tub from Amazon that you fill with water and then you fill with ice and then you get cold and then you sit out there and you soak it all in. Been doing it for a few weeks now, and I'm seeing some benefits really in my alertness, in my desire to push myself in different ways, in my recovery as well. It's been pushing me to be just a little bit better and try a little bit harder at things. And I want to take today to showcase my setup. Now, I live in South Florida. It's pretty hot, so really getting water down to temperature is the most important part, and being able to do it consistently and quick and cost effectively. If I were to buy enough ice to do this every day to get to the temperature that I want currently, I would need $10 worth of ice a day. I need about 30 pounds of ice. So that'd be 2 16-pound bags. Sometimes you can get 20-pound bags. It's just too much to spend on ice. If I'm gonna do that for a full month, if I'm spending $10 a day, that's, oh my gosh, $300 a month on ice. That's just too much to spend. So I wanted to find a cost-effective setup that works for me down here, that can be replicated, that can give you a barrier to entry, at least to try if cold plunging is something that you want to do for yourself. I do recommend it as at least something to push yourself and something to get over mental challenges and hardships. I think, and I've talked with a lot of friends about this recently, that we live in a very comfortable time and place in existence, regardless of what's happening in the economy, regardless of what's happening in your job, regardless of what's happening with your family. We don't really want for much. We can just go out to the grocery store and get the food that we need. Gas to power our vehicles that get us tens, if not hundreds of miles a day in and out from our normal habitat. It's crazy to think about the advancements that have just happened over, let's talk about the last 100 years, let's talk about the last 50 years, even the last 25 years. I grew up and internet came on CDs, America Online, got 1,000 free hours. I remember playing with those with some of my friends as frisbees and then beating them with bats because we would get them so often and we already had internet. You couldn't be on the internet and have a phone call at the same time, like absolutely unheard of. And if you know the noise, that one, the dial-up modem noise. Oh my gosh, what a wild time. I remember playing Mega Man X on my PC that was right next to the front door, and my mom being like, you need to get off the internet. And I'm like, I'm not even on the internet. I'm just playing a game. I'm not doing anything on the internet. I digress, because we're in a time and place where building out a setup for an ice bath is something that you can do fairly inexpensive, and I just want to walk you through my setup. So let's go take a look. So the main pieces of the setup are obviously the pod and dog looking for lizards. Very essential for this whole setup. And then I am outside because I find this easier than doing what might be a little cleaner inside. But then the other part that I have is this chest freezer. Let me explain the whole setup. So the main part, obviously, of the setup is the cold pod. Wanda trying to find a lizard back there. But the big thing is you've got to be able to get a large sum of water. So I live right off a dog park, so I use the hose that's there. And right now, we're sitting at high 70. So for the setup right now, I've got a few things in the freezer out here that I use, but then I have a few things on the freezer inside that I use as well. Let's go check them out. So as we're walking inside, beautiful pictures of my wife and me for our wedding, we've got some other things set up in the freezer because I just need the volume of ice. So what I'll normally do is I'll start with the biggest pieces that I have, let those sit, and then add some smaller pieces as time goes on. But for now, let's get to filling. Well, hopefully my dog cooperates, but what I start with is any of the larger pieces that I have. For today, I'm gonna dump in also the ice that I had from the ice maker first. And then what I like to do is I found a lot of the Tupperware I found was all from Goodwills or thrift shops. I got this for $1. Still have the sticker on it, but this has allowed me to have the biggest ice block. And I'm looking to go from, currently it's just about 70 degrees. I want to get this down to mid 50s is the goal. So we'll add some more. These were meal prep containers, so it's got a large and 2 small, but this has worked really nice. I got 3 of these. And the next portion is I bought these single use, well, not single use, but I bought these at the Container Store on Black Friday. They were like $1 a piece. I bought 10 of them, but this also gives me a few nice size ice blocks to add in. One of the benefits of utilizing giant pieces of ice over the small pieces is that it disperses the cold a little bit slower. That means you can get to your better temperature faster. Don't fact check me on that. Now, part of the reason this process takes so long overall is that I need time for that water to cool down. So what I'll do is I'll get my Tupperwares and all of the ice that I can set up for tomorrow while I let that cool down. We're gonna get that down to about 55, and I might even throw in a little extra today. I wanna make sure it's nice and cold while I'm out there. So we get to filling. But what I love about this process overall is that I'm not spending a ton of money on ice, and I'm not spending a ton of money making this process work. So that pod you'll be able to see in the description, it's really not that expensive. It's great quality for what it is, and I really see that as an entry pod into if this is a process you even want to do, or if I even want to do long term. The freezer was one that I found on Facebook Marketplace. I was able to pick that up for under $100. I know a lot of people have actually converted chest freezers into cold plunges. Since this is all an experiment for me, and I want the utility, at least for now, of a chest freezer, we are not converting that thing. It's gonna take a lot. Speaking of taking a lot, filling these is probably the longest part of this entire process. I've been doing 3 minutes every single day without fail. Been experimenting with what times work. And one of the things I found is that generally I will do this after a workout. Today, I'm not working out. I have a big race tomorrow, not what I'm wearing, Run for the Pies. The Spartan race. So for tomorrow, I want to be as healthy and ready as I can possibly be. And don't worry, we're either jump cutting this or editing it, so you're not watching me just fill up buckets, essentially. But this is a major part of the process, is getting enough ice, making sure that you have enough cold to make it cold. So these ones specifically, I'll bring back out to the chest freezer, and then we'll fill up the ones that go in the house freezer. Something I like to do also while I'm getting these out is I will give a really big stir to the cold pod at this point, just so I can get that cold water dispersed and it's not all just sitting on the top. So those big pieces still are not thawed out, and we're gonna get to filling the inside freezer with what we've got going on. One thing I will say about this is it is a process, not only in mental toughness, but also finding out what process works best for me, because I've seen a lot of people do a lot of different things with this. I will say, all in for this build, I'm still under $200. There's one struggle with this whole setup that I will tell you, and it's not uncommon for people that are doing plunges to a similar way that I am. And it's not just the budget. It's the freestanding piece of it, the self-contained piece of it, without any additional electronics or motors or filters to give you a little hint into what's happening here. That's the last of the ice, so now we'll set up the rest of what we need to do. Bathing suit. And this is by no means a requirement, but I really like to put my hoodie and my towel in the dryer so that by the time I'm done, everything's nice and warm for me. So with everything set up, at least for how it is now, is not for today. It's not quite as cold as I would like. We are at mid-60s. So for this, I do have one other trick. Reusable ice in the form of water bottles. Now, these won't make the most drastic of drops, but what this does is it does help maintain that cold once your body gets in. You can hear them cracking, which means they're working. But on top of that, when you walk in this, or when you get in this and it's warm, your body's warm, you've got the temperature already going, you're fighting against the cold of this plunge. Which is where even more of these come into play. Because what I'm not about with this plunging is spending a lot of money. I can feel already that helped a lot. And if there's ever one other thing I need to help with this, I have emergency stashes of ice packs in there. For today, I think we are going to be all right. I'm just going to have to let this sit for another couple minutes. Now lastly, probably most importantly, is why even do this, right? The real question with all of ice plunging is what's the benefit of it? I think one of the biggest benefits I've seen is it makes doing hard things easier because you're doing something hard by choice rather than it coming to you. The benefit of building up a tolerance for uncomfort, discomfort, what you don't want in life, so that when it does come your way, you can handle it, that is a character trait that you cannot make up. When I worked at Lululemon, they talked a lot about fake it till you make it. And I don't think that works for everything. I think you can do that in sales. I think you can do that advertising yourself or advertising the company. But at some point, the rubber's gonna hit the road. And you need to be able to prove that you are what you say you are. The integrity and the authenticity of putting yourself through hardship and proving that you can do something really difficult is where the benefit of ice plunging comes in. And what I generally say for myself is that once I'm in the 50s, we're at a good place. Just to save on time, hopefully you can see it, but we are at mid-50s now. So we're going to get this show on the road. My setup, got a little step stool out here. I use this for entry and exit, and that way I can also get my feet set and cleaned off a little bit so I'm not putting too much dirt in there. And I generally have a timer set for 3.5 minutes. So I have time to get myself set. The computer right now is out here. And we'll be in for 3 minutes at 55 degrees. Which might not seem a lot for some of you, but when you start, it's a lot. So it's about getting comfortable in this uncomfortable zone. About every 30 seconds, I give myself a head dunk. And as you can see, it's just enough for me to get all the way in. This is 85 gallons, which for me is a good amount. Now, one of the big things for me is I'll wind up moving around a little bit just to make sure that my body temperature is not warming up the water around me too much. And more importantly, that I get the benefits of the cold that I'm looking for. I hope that watching this also encourages you that doing hard things is not as hard as you think. And sometimes done is better than perfect. Being able to get in this cold, uncomfortable world and make your way proves that you are more capable than you think. You should not allow yourself to be stuck because of any uncomfort, because of confusion, because of a lack of. But I think being able to push yourself into difficult things really proves the kind of person that you allow yourself to be. Not all being in my mid-30s has been easy. But taking on this as a challenge for myself for as long as I'm able to has been quite a growth opportunity for me. Ooh. Refreshing outdoor brain freeze in South Florida. Being able to rock 54 degrees. That's just about 3 minutes with me. Once a timer. Not supposed to beep, but didn't. But I can see a big 0 seconds left. And that's the start of just getting a cold plunge done. It's not an ice plunge. I make that mistake. It's not quite an ice plunge, but it's pretty cold. So there it is, guys. We're back in the bedroom, relaxing with Wanda. Still a little chilled to the bone from that experience, but that's how it goes for me most days. I wind up being in there for 3 minutes between getting the ice and everything set up and refilled. That's about another 10, 12 minutes getting, my whole rest of it set up. I'm 15, 20 minutes a day overall. I'm still experimenting with if I want to go back to doing it first thing in the morning. It is something to get myself woken up and really start my day versus a cup of coffee. Or do I want to continue to do it like I've been doing after my workouts? So seeing the benefits of it all, right? My setup is under $300. I got that chest freezer off of Facebook Marketplace. You can absolutely do that. There's people getting rid of them all the time. I found all of that Tupperware and stuff at Goodwill's or the Container Store for extremely inexpensive. I would recommend, if you want to do it, done is better than perfect, at least to get it familiar for yourself. You're absolutely able to do this in your tub at home. The biggest thing with that is you are going to need a lot of ice and a lot of time to refill that tub every day, which brings me to probably the biggest gripe with the setup that I have. Sanitizing, stabilizing, getting that water clean is really difficult. And that's only because I'm keeping it at room temperature or outside temperature in Florida heat. On top of that, it just takes some time. So about now, once a week or once every 2 weeks, I have to drain that, scrub it down, a little bit soapy water, and refill it. During that time right now, I'm putting Epsom salts in there. It's an inexpensive means to stabilize it and keep it a little bit more clean. It sanitizes the water a bit. It's not as potent maybe as chlorine or bromine, but at least right now, it's something where I'm not using harsh chemicals. But outside of that gripe, I've really been enjoying the process because I feel like in that time I'm learning and pushing myself. Okay, it's only 3 minutes. Okay, I can do this another day. There's been plenty of days that I wake up or I'm done with the workout and I'm like, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But I still tell myself to do it. It's an avid cold plunger, truly ice plunger that he had, I believe it's Jason Farron, but he said that discipline is the best form of self-love because it's proving to yourself that you can do the things that are going to help set up your future, and that's how you love yourself. This is one of those things that I'm continuing to do because I want it to push me, to grow me, and to shape me more into that man that I want to be. When I eventually have kids, I want them to look at their dad and be excited and challenged and proud of who he is. I want my wife to continue to do and push me to do the same. I want everyone that I meet to feel inspired by the things that I do. If there is anything on your list to do, like I said while I was in the cold plunge, done is better than perfect. Start with a small step. Do one step to prove to yourself that it's not as hard as you think it is. I would say today, find one of those things to do for yourself. My wife and I have a Spartan race coming up this weekend as a nice challenge capstone for some of what we've been up to. And it's always good to push yourself and throw yourself into unfamiliar and uncomfortable situations to continue to prove to yourself that you can. All that being said, guys, that's it for today. I'm gonna go get a shower. I'm gonna go get some lunch. And I'm gonna play with my dog. It's gonna be a nice little day for me. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.